Hello everyone. It's this time of the year again. It's September and it's also the time for a new release of Xen Orchestra 5.75 already. And this month we worked on backup because we do a lot of work on backup, but we also progress on many different things. Oliver will explain better than me all the new stuff that are coming in the next version of Xen Orchestra. On the practical note, this will be available just after this web live, and the blog post will be available a few minutes after the live. So everything should be accessible in the latest release branch of Xen Orchestra very shortly. Oliver, I will let you take over from there, and let's go.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. So, indeed, as Mark said, this time it's the release for September. We have let's say, a reasonable sets of features that are coming this month. The first one, and a very important one, is the ability to do file level restore for backup that are using the new, let's say, split VHD format, where we store everything as very small files. We had to use this format in the previous months to be compatible with S3 backup, because the S3 protocol, as you may remind or not, is not really fit for using directly big VHD files. So that's why we decided to overcome this and create a new format to store our backup. This is an optional format that will be enabled by default if you choose an S3 backup repository, but you can also use this format for a normal NFS SMB backup repository, as long as your file system on the other side is supporting a lot of small files. Remember that you have some limits regarding the number of files you could have into a folder, especially with X or NTFS file system. So if you are using ZFS or ButterFS and things like that, that will be fine. Just keep that in mind. But with this new format, we've been able to add compression, backup encryption, and sadly, we didn't have a way to get a file level restore like we did with VHD files, which was relatively trivial to make. So we found a way to enable this file level restore directly for this format, enabling you to restore any file inside a backup instead of restoring the entire VM, and regardless the fact that it's stored on S3 backup or any kind of backup using this new storage format. So even with encryption, it could work. So it means that if you, for example, just lose, I don't know, one database or one file from one user, you will be able to access this specific file from the UI of Xen Orchestra. So again, we are doing a lot of progress regarding this new way to store a backup, and it kind of unlocked the let's say, the field of possible things we could achieve. And for those who wonder, we are using a kind of custom fuse driver to be able to read on this format we have. And through this fuse driver, we are able to mount the disk directly as we done in the past with using regular, let's say, VHD files. So that's the one big important feature for this month. Now let's see the next one, which is a kind of a preview beta feature, and let's say a first draft on a way to use webhooks. So the rationale behind this feature is, if sometime when you do a snapshot could be used for a backup or just a regular snapshot, you might want to get a specific actions done before the actual snapshot is made on the XCPNG side. So the easiest way to integrate that is to create a small web server into your guest, into your VM. And when you configure this kind of webhook inside the guest, we could call it every time we want to make a snapshot. So you can consider this as a custom thing that you could create. So there's an example given into the blog post. So in very short, it's you just have to configure a secret to be sure that in terms of security, Xen Orchestra could have a connectivity to your guests in a secure manner. And then we gave a simple server example in Node.js, but it could be anything else that is listening on HTTP, and you could have any action like before the snapshot, and Xen Orchestra will wait for the action to be done for at least 1 minute. So for example, if you want to make a MySQL or PostgreSQL dump of your database, remove the TMP folder, things like that, you could do it with customizing the script or make your own, it doesn't matter. And so Xen Orchestra will wait for 1 minute, and if nothing is coming back after 1 minute, we will do the snapshot anyway. But if you answer that it's done, then the snapshot will be done, and then if we do a backup, export this snapshot, and then at least it does exactly what you needed. And you also have post-synchronize actions, so you could even do actions after the snapshot. For example, I don't know, re-enable a service that you disable for a while or things like that. So by default, a kind of side note, snapshots are consistent thanks to the fact that you got already PV drivers that are aware when we are calling snapshots. So you shouldn't have any, corruption on the snapshot. But maybe you want to extend this feature to be able to do extra actions. So that's really the goal of this new feature. Could be very powerful, very flexible to let you do any kind of custom action when you do a snapshot before, during, and after. So it's very, very powerful to trigger, some action. So it's just a test, but it's pretty simple to set up. Obviously, if you need assistance or advice, we'll be happy to answer on the forum. But it's made to have a better integration on snapshot action between the rest of your infrastructure. Okay, that's it for the webhook for snapshots. The next step is a kind of a smaller thing, but still I would say popular in terms of people asking for it. When you create a storage repository based on NFS, you couldn't in Xen Orchestra previously select a subfolder of the NFS export, the NFS path that is given by your NFS server. So you had the obligation, you did have the choice to select anything else than the list of folders exported by your NFS server. But sometimes you just want to export a big folder to your XCPNG host, and then maybe you want to get some subfolders, I don't know, for non-production, production, and so on, to split, the storage repositories into different folders. As a reminder, when you create an SR on NFS, XCPNG will create a folder, will have the EUID of this storage created automatically. But now you have at least the opportunity to create this folder elsewhere than the root of the exported NFS export. So it's also more flexibility. If you know the subdirectory, just enter the path, and it will try to connect and directly mount it in the subdirectory. So pretty simple, but something relatively asked since a long time. So we're happy to continue to improve things and going that way. So that's it for the overview. And obviously, if you want to get more details, I will link to the changelog, the detailed changelog on GitHub. So if you want to take a look there, you can do so. And we also wanted to talk about different things happening in the next months or already happened. If you want to take a look on a recap I wrote regarding the last Xen Summit that just happened 1 week ago, I wrote a pretty decent blog post regarding how it went. So as a reminder, the Xen Summit is the upstream Xen place to talk with developers from Citrix, SUSE, AWS, ARM, and so on. And we talk about the future of Xen, work on exciting new features and things like that. It was truly interesting. So take a look on the blog posts. You will learn a lot of stuff. Another message regarding a future event, this time the Open Source Summit Experience happening in Paris. So if you are based in Europe and you want to take a look there, we will be, like last year, we'll be there with a booth. So and in extra this year, Mark will also do a talk regarding the virtual infrastructure sovereignty. So this will be even better than last year. But again, if you just want to talk to our booth, feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, and also just
yes?
a quick note:
Sure.
it will be an entirely revamped booth with all our new graphic identity, and we will make sure to have some goodies associated with that new graphic identity.
Yes, so another great reason to come to pass to our booth. And finally, a quick sitrep on Lite. So we did a build, I think 2 weeks ago already. So if you didn't force refresh the page of your test Exolite, go ahead. There's new components, but there's even more coming in the next weeks. As you may guess, it's a kind of long work to prepare all the components from scratch, but it's moving forward pretty fast right now. Again, that's also because we switched from React to Vue.js, so it's a bit different, but the pace of our progress is pretty good. And then the initial steps are a bit longer, but now we have more and more components, so it will be faster and faster to integrate them into the UI, to get to do new actions like start stop VMs and maybe create VMs and so on. So continue to keep an eye on this. It's still moving forward. There is something like 3 people working on it almost full time, so it got a decent let's say acceleration in the last weeks, and we hope to have even more to show you during the next release. As you may know, the release pace for Exolite isn't exactly the same than Xen Orchestra. We don't have monthly releases. It more happening in a different pace, but still we'll keep you posted in those blog post announcements when we have new features and things like that. So that's it on my side. Mark, I will let you conclude this session.
Yeah, I have not much to add on that. We have many other things that are coming until the end of the year, including our new website, which is progressing quite much these last few weeks. So as I said in the beginning of this web live, the new release will be available in a few hours maybe, and it will be on the latest release branch. So if you don't have any question, thank you everyone for being there today, and we will see you in a month for the next release live session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.